Alright, so today we're going to be learning how to make a 3D crystal etching in Blender. It's really not all that difficult to do. Modeling is pretty easy. Really the rendering is the biggest hassle. So with that said, let's get to it. Let's open up Blender here. And as you can see, thankfully Blender realizes how much we all suck at modeling, and it crazes us by having a cube already here. So Blender's already done most of the work. All we really have to do is just bevel the edges. One thing that I like to do is bevel this one edge. Let me turn on the keys here. So Control Shift B, you can bevel one vertex. I like to do 0.5. This allows it to have like a little resting place, a little stand if you want one of the faces facing a bit more forward. So let's go ahead and rotate this guy so that it's resting on the bevel there. And let's see, about negative 35. Alright. So now what we do is go over to the don't select everything and do Control B. Alright, this obviously, as you can see, does not work. And this is a Bush League way of doing it anyway. We're grown-ups now. We have 2.7 of Blender. We have a new and improved bevel modifier, which makes things look much nicer. And we have a little bit more control over things. One thing I will say is the only vertices option is another nice little thing that you can choose to do if you want. Both only vertices and edges are pretty common. You'll see them with a lot of other actual 3D crystal etches. So either one's up to you. I'm gonna go with I'll go with the edges too. I'll make it half as small. That looks pretty good. Excuse me. Now the next thing we want to do is create the actual etching inside of the crystal. So let's go over to our second layer here. And well, okay, so normally for an etching, people will create something that's special and has a lot of meaning to them. Usually it's like a family member or maybe a pet. We're going to be using Suzanne. I really feel Suzanne's earned this one. She's always seems to be around whenever nobody feels like actually modeling anything worthwhile. You know, she's been the real MVP lately, so she's earned a little display time here. So what we're gonna do is go to subdivision surface. I recommend doing at least 2 levels. So what we're gonna be doing is putting a little bubble, an etching bubble, on each vertex. My machine can't really handle all that much, and if you're on a laptop, maybe you want to only do one subdivision level as well. So let's go ahead and apply that. The next thing is let's make our actual etching bubble here. Let's go to an icosphere and set the subdivision level to 1. We're going to have tons of these little dudes, so we're going to have them as low poly as we possibly can, set it to a smooth shading, set the normals to smooth. Let's go back to Suzanne here and go over to the particle system. Let's create a hair type. Now our object is going to be the icosphere. Normally this is when I take a minute to just sort of giggle and laugh at how ridiculous everything looks with this hair system. Anyway, let's keep going here. Let's try 0.05. Actually, that looks pretty good. You're gonna want to play with the size to figure out what works best for you. See, 0.005 looks pretty good to me. Maybe a little smaller. We'll go with it. So, one thing you can do as well is just if you like it, have all the little bubbles sort of displayed randomly about. All the more power to you, whatever floats your boat. I like to go to advanced and hit on verts. This locks all the bubbles to a vertice. Of course, we got really bump up the number of vertices here. That's looking pretty good. Let's actually see, it's kind of slowing my machine down already. Let's see if I can get maybe 5. No. Fine. I'll go with that. Alright, so pretty much all the modeling is done. Let's start working on the materials. Let's go to the Cycles Render. Go to our Materials tab. Now for Suzanne herself, we're actually going to be using a transparent shader because we only want the bubbles to show up. Now it's important to set her color to pure white, or else there will be a slight outline of her. For the bubbles itself, click on the bubble here, and it's actually going to be a mix shader. And I'm gonna go, just because it's more convenient, to go into the node editor here. So it's going to be a mix of the diffuse and the glass shader. Now it has an IOR of 2, because crystal actually does have an IOR of 2. We're learning something new every day, aren't we? Let's input the shaders here. Now, a 50-50 blend should be alright. We're really just trying to create a an etched bubble. Obviously, it's not as polished as the outside. So 50-50 does kind of work. We can have diffuse have 75% of it, so that'd be actually fine. That looks pretty good too. Somewhere in between there, whatever you feel like going with. I think I'll go with this. Let's go back to the 3D view and click on Suzanne herself and move her back to the first layer. Now the first thing we're going to want to do is scale her down a bit. And it looks like this is the front face of the crystal, so let's turn Suzanne around here. 180, and yeah, let's face her up a bit. There we go. Now for the crystal's material itself is going to be a glass shader, and with an IOR of 2. And that's pretty much it. We can go to GPU here. Just render it. That's pretty much it. We can make things a little bit brighter here so you can see things better. There you go. That's how you make your crystal etching in Blender. So, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.